Good morning, guys. Dude, sometimes I can't take myself seriously. I wake up in the morning with, like this. Hold on if I could. It doesn't even do it justice the way I wake up. With these hairs, guys. I legit have bangs. I can blow it out. That's it. Today we're bringing back the wax stick because they've been like really unruly lately. And they're such awkward length. Like if they were here, I don't know. Anyways, I am getting my hair done. In February. Unfortunately, it's gonna be after my baby sprinkle, but it's okay. I just want to look cute and feel better about myself before going into labor. We're not going into labor, but having my baby, because as a mom, if you've gone through postpartum, it's a rough stage, you know? You just don't always feel pretty. You stink. You're sweating. You're always leaking. If you're breastfeeding, probably haven't showered in a couple days. You're wearing the same PJs. Can't tell if the makeup is even. Looks a little not even, but anyways, what did I want to talk about today? I wanted to share about some of the things that I had to work on before I was able to conceive. I struggled with infertility for 2.5 years. And whereas I know that's not nearly as long as some have struggled, it was still a really hard thing to go through, especially at the time, because most of my friends had kids, and like multiple kids. And it seemed like everyone and anyone could get pregnant but me. And it was seriously one of the things I wanted the most in life. And so we know how that goes, right? If you really want something, it's hard to get. It just stings so much more. But in year 2019, before COVID, I was losing a lot of weight. I was very stressed out with trying to get my hours to become a therapist. I had to get 1,500 hours. I was a registered intern. I worked, I don't know if I still worked for a private practice at the time, but I remember I worked for, no, I didn't. I just worked for a psychiatric agency that had PAs that prescribed psych meds, and then there's also therapists. You could do home therapy or you could work in the office, and for a while I was doing home, but then I switched to in-office, which, thank God, because home therapy is rough, guys. Been there, done that, don't ever want to do it again. But I was so stressed. I remember feeling so focused on my future and feeling like getting my licensure would be really impossible. I was also dating my now husband. And yeah, so like all the talks of the future and getting married and all that. So anyways, I need to get 1,500 hours, and then COVID hits. And I think I had gotten my hours at the beginning of COVID, but then things started shutting down, like the testing sites, in order to take my licensure exam. I'm painting the picture because I was very stressed, and prolonged stress, I think, has a lot to do with my body and what was going on. Not to mention, you know, being in grad school, I was probably the most stressed I'd ever been. And that's where I think like my gluten intolerance at the time developed. I can definitely have it now, but back then it like really killed my stomach. I'm out of breath. I think that's also the birth of my autoimmune disorder came from grad school. Anyways, neither here nor there for right now. So I was very stressed, losing a lot of weight. My hair was thinning. And I always had a fast metabolism, but I was skinny. Like, looking back, I'm like, oh my gosh. I know I wasn't eating because honestly, I wasn't eating enough. Because honestly, it stressed me out to, like, it sounds so sad. But like feeding myself and figuring out meals was like not on the top of my list because I was constantly thinking about my future. But anyways, during that year, the Lord told me to prepare my body. And I was like, and I'm thinking, prepare my body to have babies. Oh my God, this is so exciting. Which is what I thought he meant. But then my health issues started getting worse. So I started having really bad, like in the middle of the night, I would be so thirsty. Like my mouth would be so dry. Felt like I'd swallowed sand. My voice was always really coarse like this in the morning, like bad. I had really dry eyes. I would have bruises all over my body. My body felt like one big bruise. I was getting really forgetful. I had memory issues, which is very unlike me. I have really great memory. I was feeling very unmotivated, kind of depressed feeling, but I knew I wasn't depressed. I don't know how to explain that, but as best I can. So I was like, something's really not right medically. So I went to this Cuban doctor, and he listened to me. And he said, I think you have an autoimmune disorder. So he said, it's going to be a lot of blood to be drawn, but are you okay with that? I'm like, yeah, I don't want to feel like this anymore. And I knew they were going to find something. Also around this time, my pulse rate started becoming very high, and it has stayed high ever since. Interesting? I don't know. Anyways, they run all the tests. They find out that I have Sjogren's. Some of those symptoms are a classic me, some are not. It also attacks your lymph nodes, which whenever I'm sick, my lymph nodes get huge, always have. Anyway, so I get diagnosed with that. So I'm thinking, okay, great, amen. Found what the issue is. I also have endometriosis. I had terrible, terrible, terrible periods. Would bleed for, one time I bled for months. Wouldn't be able to attend school for like 3 days when I was in college on my period. I'm out of breath, guys. I'm almost, 29 weeks today. But I'm so out of breath. So then I get married, and of course I want to have babies right away. I don't get pregnant right away. I'm thinking it's going to be easy in the way, like, well, that's what you're taught. You just have sex and get pregnant. Boy, was I mistaken. I then go on this huge health journey of switching out, literally changing my whole lifestyle, like to the detergent I use, to the containers I ate my food in, to the makeup I put on my face. I didn't wear perfume because it was anything that was an endocrine disruptor, I did not use. Oh, what a time to be alive. Even the cleaners I used, I try to be as clean as possible. So I started seeing a dietitian whom I love and I will always recommend. She taught me so much. I was able, through her help, to have a normal woman's period. Like, what I mean by that is it was not painful. I would get my period and I wouldn't even know it was coming because I wasn't feeling like I was on my deathbed. And it was all changed by my diet, supplements that I took, and we did a bunch of tests to figure out, what I needed, what I was lacking in. Since I have endometriosis, or have whatever, you're estrogen dominant, and so, like, even trying to detox some of the estrogen out of my body, I ended up finding out I had a parasite, which I for sure did, because once we did stuff with that, my gut health changed dramatically. I mean, I just learned so much. She did a saliva test. She did a stool sample, which that was humbling. But anyways, she helped me. But I didn't conceive through that. But I continued to do the things that she taught me. Because I could not afford that. Plus our rent and trying to save and all the things. We were just newly married. So we moved from the house we were renting into an apartment. And when we moved, we downsized because we were in a nice big house. It was right behind my mom's house, but anyways, went to an apartment. And once I moved into that apartment, I knew that was going to be the house or the place that I would welcome my first child in. And I also was like, how though? Because we are doing all the things and nothing's happening. My husband even did a sperm sample, and he didn't get a great report card, as they call it, but it wasn't terrible. It was like basically take some male vitamins to help the quality of the sperm and change his diet. Simple things. So again, we still didn't know why we weren't conceiving, because all my numbers were actually not bad. I had kind of on the lower end of AMH, but not terrible. So then I'm like, Lord, tell me which doctor I need to go see, because I know there's something that's, like, I knew there's a big chunk of the puzzle that was missing. And I knew that it was a medical thing. Like, I had prayed, I had fasted, I had done all the things I felt like spiritually that he had asked of me. So finally he tells me which doctor to go see at a practice. So I go see this doctor. She's a nurse practitioner. I tell her like all that, what I just told you, in like a shorter condensed version. And she said, I think you have a prolactinoma. Have you gotten your prolactin levels checked? And I said, I actually have. That was in the very beginning of my journey when I went to see the fertility specialist, when they basically told me that they were just going to put me on doing medicated cycles without doing further investigation, which I didn't like that answer. She said, I think you have this type of tumor. And I was like, a tumor? What the heck? Like, so then I start spiraling, but I'm like, okay, whatever. What test do I need to do to figure it out? I'm going to stop there because this is already long.